there everyone, it's Nicole. Welcome to the Waffle Flower channel. This is It's in the Details, and today I am showcasing a kind of sophisticated card design. This is a great holiday themed card, but it doesn't use traditional holiday themed colors, and it's created all with die cuts, even the greeting. I am going to start by die cutting some of the Lacy Layers 2 dies from some watercolor cardstock. I'm also going to die cut some of the Riverside trees from this watercolor cardstock. Just all things I'm going to be using to build up my scene. And that die did not cut all the way through this layer, so I'm just going to line it back up and run it back through my machine a couple times. I do want to keep that outside teeny tiny frame as well as my scallop border here. From this particular scallop layer, I am going to die cut the mountains from the Riverside die set twice to go across here, and this is going to create the bottom layer of my scene, plus it's going to give me those mountain outlines. And the reason I want to keep that is because I want to inlay these particular two layers. So I'm going to keep those two little teeny tiny outlines with the snow caps, and I'm going to keep that bottom piece. I did die cut another mountain. I decided not to use it, so kind of ignore that part. But I did die cut lots more trees because I want to make it a really full scene. And then I'm simply going to kind of lay out some of the components. I've got my river that's die cut from watercolor cardstock. Everything here is die cut from watercolor cardstock. I'm going to be applying color with distress inks. So originally I kind of thought I'd try to tuck another mountain layer under there, and it just felt too much, and I'm really glad that I nixed that. So I'm just going to kind of move that to the side, and I'm going to do something different with the sky instead. I like to lay out my components even though everything is still white right here before I get to putting it together. It gives me a really good idea if I need more trees or, where I want to put the greeting, things like that. I have die cut another scallop for my background itself, and I'm using a pretty light hand to apply tumbled glass distress ink. I only really need it from where the mountains go up. Once I have the ink applied, I'm going to take a falling snow stencil and some white embossing paste and create a snowy sky. And this is really going to lend itself to the winter theme that I want to have here. I'm going to lift that up, set it aside to completely dry, and start inking up my trees. I'm using Gathered Twigs Distress Ink for the tree trunks, and then a combination of Crushed Olive and Forest Moss Distress Inks for the trees themselves. Again, I want to ink all of this up, set it aside while I work on each step of this card design. When I was creating this, I kind of wanted it to look kind of like a postcard, if that makes sense. That's with all of those lacy layers. As I was laying out the dies on my work table, I thought it looked kind of like a winter postcard scene. So that's what I was going for here. Now this inlay part that's going to go along the bottom edge, I inked it up lightly with Gathered Twigs Distress Ink. I'm applying some tumbled glass distress ink to my water, but I forgot to clean off the Gathered Twigs ink from my craft mat, and it got into the blue ink and looked awful, and it wasn't dark enough. So what I ended up doing was taking Salty Ocean and chipped sapphire inks to my river instead, and I like that a lot better. Now originally I thought I would try to ink that up or spritz it with water and have it react. I didn't like it. So I'm going to apply some more distress ink to it, and instead I'm going to take this great Pico embellisher. This color is Wedding Dress. It's a white opaque color, and it has this really skinny nozzle tip, and I'm going to just draw on those water lines that kind of emboss there when you die cut the river. Trace over those, and it stays really glossy, so I think it looks great for things like water. For the snow caps, I'm going to take my snow marker, just dot some on there. You do not want it to be too thick. If it is too thick, it really ruins the whole look. because I did that and it did not heat well. So kind of use just a slight or a light hand and just put dots of this on there. Take your heat tool and heat set it, and it's going to puff up, which I think makes awesome snow effects. So I am just going to do that to both of these and try to keep my fingers out of the way so I do not burn my fingertips. Now that one snow cap kind of got boogered up. What I ended up doing was just putting a little bit more on top of there. In fact, I dabbed a little of the liquid off. It was too much, and heated that again so I didn't have to scrap the whole snow cap and die cut another one. So there is what my snow caps look like. Each step of this card has quite a bit of embellishing, and that is what makes all of these die cuts really come to life and add so much interest to the design. It truly is the little details that make this fairly simple scene so pretty to look at. I attached my border along the bottom edge of my snowy background. I'm going to put a little liquid adhesive in here and then some glue dots on the top of the snow caps and simply inlay those into my bottom little part there. I've glued my river in place as well. And then I am going to have an outer layer using another Lacy Layers 2 die. I laid it out there just to make sure I still liked that. And I'm using some glue dots to attach all of my trees. Kind of tuck them this way and that all around the river, up near the top, up near the mountain border. I want a couple kind of along this left side. The trees really make this look like a snowy winter scene in the mountains. Now for my greeting, I am using the awesome new year-round words, and I'm also taking a sentiments die. And from the sentiments die, which is a solid strip, I'm going to die cut that from some gold foil cardstock. And then from the watercolor cardstock I used for everything else, just to kind of keep it consistent, I am die cutting the year-round words that read Merry Christmas. You could also use the Happy Holidays. You could totally cut your strip as well from the gold cardstock to layer underneath. I didn't, because that sentiments die was almost exactly the same length, and it made it really easy to just tuck behind. But you could definitely just take a paper trimmer and cut that instead. I decided to do the gold behind because I really wanted it to pop through those little openings in the year-round words. I'm going to just kind of pop all of those out. If any of them don't just come out with my fingers, I'm going to take a piercing tool and pop them all out. It die cut really nicely. I did have to run it back and forth a few times, but that's just because my cutting pads were a little warped. But it looks beautiful, and it's a very nice simple greeting that, again, I think really lends itself well to that postcard, quote unquote, scene that I'm trying to achieve here. I am ready to start putting it all together. I've got my background layer die cut with another Lacy Layers 2 die. I'm going to attach my word to the gold metallic foil cardstock and attach that right there in the sky. Very subtle but very effective. Go ahead and attach my scene to the center of my big background scallop layer. And then I'm going to attach these two skinny little frames right around the scene. And I ended up stacking 3 of these, one on top of another, to really frame it up nicely. Even though it's white on white, I love the look of the layers. I think it helps really make that center scene again stand out. What I'm going for here is simplicity, elegance, and just with some lovely embellishing. Once all of my frames are glued in place, I'm going to take that Pico embellisher again and add little dabs of glue, or this Pico embellisher rather, to the tips of the trees to make them look snowy as well. Once I have that done and this is dried, I'm going to go ahead and adhere this to a side fold card base, and my simple, elegant, Merry Christmas postcard style scene card is all finished. For more product information on this card, please visit waffleflower.com. Follow us on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook for more creative ideas. Thanks for watching.